This is Joe Crispin, former Penn State and professional basketball player. You are listening to the Mark Lesko Podcast.
I think you said that he could have gotten more separation.
There were some technique fundamentals in receiver that weren't perfect in the 80s. I had to throw in a few points at critique.
What was it like playing in March Madness? I mean, we have it going on right now.
But playing there was amazing. I mean, like, that's kind of your whole goal is to just be a part of that. It's such a special thing where the whole country is tuning in and anything is really possible, you know.
You know, my optimistic side said, like I said, that we're going to be okay. We just had a bad game. We were probably experimenting a little bit, ran into a good team. So.
If Miami came to our house, we would probably, if anything, win. We wouldn't get blown out.
When you first started playing football, you know, did you always want to play in college?
No, I was growing up. I was a big baseball guy. Loved baseball. And then 8th grade, I remember I got a call from my uncle, Coach Nagel. He's like, hey, I got the job. And I was just like, all right, I'll play football for you.
You are listening to the Mark Lesko Podcast, a podcast by diehard fans for fans. It's as honest and as raw as sports talk can be. Thank you for listening to the Mark Lesko Podcast.
Hey, everybody, this is Greg Garrity.
So Anthony Lottie will punt it away from the 41. Greg Garrity is the deep man for Penn State at the 10-yard line.
Former Penn State receiver and 2016 Big Ten champion. You're listening to the best Penn State Nittany Lion podcast, the Mark Lesko Podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome back in to another episode of the Mark Lesko Podcast, Steelers Central, joined by Jared. Once again, Jared, how you doing, man?
Oh, dude, I'm so pumped. I am so happy that everything worked out the way it was. I mean, it was great to see Russ in the second half, naturally. I mean, in the first quarter, we were all kind of like, well, this is kind of what we all thought. But then he turned it all on, and everybody turned it all on. I mean, it was a collective team win with Russ leading the way. And naturally, we have to say, well, Mike Tomlin, here's a thing about this that we never really took an angle at because, again, it just seems like it's natural to kind of go in the negative way with Tomlin. But in the positive spin, maybe there is a reason why Mike Tomlin never has had a coach come off of his staff, because maybe the dude is just legitimately his own guy in the sense like he's on his own island. He's his own creation himself. Like, he doesn't distill any kind of wisdom on anyone else. Like, he lets them come in and do their thing. I mean, it's actually kind of a pretty awesome structure that it's like, well, you come and do your job, and I'm just going to let you guys do what you do, and I'll do what I do. Like, and it is what it is. Like, he is absolutely in every right to think he was right about this because we saw it. It was a great, great statement to make to the AFC, to the NFL, that the Steelers do have a legitimate team overall. I'm not saying we are the best. I'm not saying we're even in the top 5 yet, but we certainly are making a case that we could very well be in the playoffs and at least win one.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, he was right. Russ looked really good. I'm going to pull up his stats here. Just go through the box score. I mean, he looked really good, man. He had 3 touchdowns. I mean, I was really happy with the performance. They started out slow, but they pulled away. And this, you know, the Jets aren't a bad team. They have some really good guys in their defense for sure.
Really good guys.
Yeah, and overall, he came out. He was composed. He did really well. And, you know, I've always said it that any player that comes to the Steelers can be better than where they're at now. Even Patrick Mahomes, I mean, he could probably I don't know about him, but my point is that
right.
You know, you come to the Steelers, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, like Michael Parsons, Saquon Barkley, if they come to the Steelers, they could be better. And I think that's what we saw here. And we saw the Russ that played for Seattle for sure.
Yes, sir.
He redeemed himself. He redeemed Coach Tomlin for sure, because we have been questioning him, and he needed a quarterback. I think he's got one. And, you know, I said it before, man, Mike Tomlin's a great mentor. As first of all, as a coach, he's a great mentor for Justin Fields, a young quarterback. He's a great mentor for Russell Wilson, and then Russell Wilson's a great mentor for Justin Fields, and Russell Wilson is also a great guy for Coach Tomlin, and he's a great guy for the team. And when you have a great quarterback, a great mentor as a quarterback, like Russell Wilson, that's better for the whole team. And you know, I always you know, I'm a religious guy. You know, I pray and stuff like that, but he's a very religious person, Russell Wilson. He's a good guy. I mean, he does a lot of work in the community, especially with the children's hospitals and stuff like that. He's just a good person. So, you know, that doesn't always mean something on the field. Like Tim Tebow didn't really correlate in the NFL. You know, it had nothing to do with his faith. It was just he was very devout to his faith, and he wasn't that great of a player in the NFL. But it's nice when you see both, you know, a good person and a good player come together in one, because you don't always get that. But yeah, he did really good. He looked good. Najee, I mean, it opened up the run game. Like, that was unbelievable. But yeah, man, I mean, it really injected me with some hope, and I hadn't felt like that in a long time. Seeing that, and you know, Jared, like we talked about last week, I mean, have you felt this optimistic and happy in a long time? I mean, I haven't felt like this in a long time about the Steelers. And that was after my little rant I did, you know, so.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we're looking at a plethora of positivity. I mean, it's definitely encouraging to watch a guy like Justin Fields be as competitive as he's been and very maintaining the game the way he has. And then, of course, a guy like Russell Wilson, who, you know, had a little bit of like, it took a while to get going, but once he got on the gas, dude, he was not stopping. It was just all steam ahead. I mean, it's really great to see everything kind of like give the best version of what we were hoping for. Like, this is about as good as it was going to get for them. I mean, you take a look at that box score, like hold it right there for the running backs and the quarterback. Go back up.
Yep.
So what you have right here is very interesting. Look at the Jets' run game. Look at that. That right there is defense, 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 my friend. That is about as shutting it down. If you take the touchdown away, that is about as shut down as you can pretty much get in the NFL. And if you look at Breece Hall, who is one of the better running backs in the game, Jaylen Warren did exactly what he did with just one touchdown less. Like, that's insane that the backup or the number 2 RB did as good as the other team's number 1. Like, that's a fantastic thing to witness and to see with numbers. Like, guys like Najee, I know you were critical of this guy, thinking he might not be a Steeler for much longer, but you've seen what this dude looks like when it comes to relying on him solely. Like, when we didn't have Jaylen Warren or Cordell Patterson for the Raiders, dude went nuts. He was like, my back's against the wall. I've got to get going. And he just plowed everyone down. He went crazy in that game. And in this one, too. I mean, this is absolutely some of the better results that we could ask for. And we were talking about the offensive line last week, maybe not doing anything for this team. Dude, everyone stepped up on that line. It was great to see what they did for them. I was utterly in shock of how the holes were there. Everything was perfectly held up for Russ and them. He threw 16 passes. Like 16 for 29, nothing to really get crazy about, but 264 with 2 touchdown passes. Like, it's absolutely fantastic. And George Pickens finally looking like George, like we thought we could see him, like seeing those great circus catches he was making left and right with Russ. I mean, it was exactly what the offense needed. And the wide receivers have got to be in the locker room just jumping up and down all around Russ. Like, thank you
Yeah.
for opening up the freaking passing game. It was a glorious thing to watch, dude. It all worked. Everything, run game, pass, everyone on defense, the offensive line, and of course, Boswell. He was always up for anything. Again, it's a great thing to watch your team when everything is working. And dude, I'm not saying this is like a trap game or anything, but this is kind of like a statement you have to talk about this week with the Giants. Monday Night Football, you have got to stop playing down to the opponent. This team is decimated. Daniel Jones is on his last leg, or he will be this week because TJ's going to maul him, and Highsmith, and potentially Elliott. I mean, we're talking anyone on the defense will have their pick of what body part they want to rip off that man and beat him with. I mean, that's pretty much what we're looking at. So this week is that's what it is. Like, we should not even be in the conversation of losing this game. It's just a question of, will we do what we always do and somehow keep this game close by half? I mean, again, we don't want a boring game. We don't want like a 50-3 bout, but it's just at the same time, it's a team like the Giants that are hurt, that don't have, I mean, now they're going to get Malik Neighbors back. I mean, he's going to be a huge factor for them. So I know that this team has a couple things. Dexter Lawrence is a phenomenal defensive guy. He's done a lot of great things. You know, the Giants lead the NFL in sacks. Their defense, of all the teams in the NFL, the Giants lead in sacks. That was like, what? Like, that team with their record they have 31 sacks. So, I mean, I think what we're looking at this week personally is we're probably going into it going probably run heavy again. I mean, again, we may say Justin Fields actually in this game, maybe just as much as Russ. I don't know, because again, I rely solely on Justin Fields to manage the game with his legs more than his arm, of course. But I mean, it would be interesting to see what the Steelers do going forward, especially if they can somehow fuse both guys into the game plan. And then it's like, everything's up in the air for anyone who plays us. That's like, this is a problem. You have two great quarterbacks that can make anything happen at any given time. And then you have two running backs that it's like, between Najee and Jalen, it's like their speed, their ability to make things happen with their legs as well. It's just like, this is the best embarrassment of riches that you could have. Because again, once you get the run game established, then Pickens, then Freiermuth, even Washington, Darnell Washington, that skyscraper with muscles, can just get up there. Imagine that, 6'7", no quarterback is getting that guy. You just go like this, that your quarterback's done. All he has to do is catch it, and he will be able to get at least 7-8 yards. That's all I'm asking. Like, dude, this is a very interesting situation if this continues to get better.
Yeah, a couple things that stood out to me. Russell Wilson threw the ball to his target, to his weapons, and let them make plays. That's one thing. Like George Pickens, who can, he's unbelievable. He's Lynn Swan-esque, man. Like the way he moves, he's very nimble. I mean, he can do anything, man. He's so good. And Russell Wilson threw him open. He let his playmakers make plays. He opened up the run game. He looked good. I mean, again, like, he's a veteran and he brings a good decorum to this team. I mean, he's fitting right in, and he just makes this team better. In this game, he made this team better. Now we'll see going forward. It was one game, but yeah, he made the offense better. The defense actually had an opportunity to kind of show what they can show because they weren't on the field 24/7 because of bad offensive play. And Justin Fields, he's a good quarterback, but he needs more mentorship, and he needs to be a backup to Russell Wilson. And he has a great coach and mentor in Mike Tomlin. Like I said, I mean, he's in a perfect position right now to grow and become a better quarterback. Anybody that plays for Mike Tomlin as a player is lucky. I mean, that doesn't mean I'm the biggest fan of him. He still hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. But at the end of the day, man, like I saw this thing today. His winning percentage with Big Ben was like 60-some%. And since then, it's been 57%. And that's with, they said, a majority of backups. Like they've had Kenny Pickett, who was terrible, Mitch Trubisky, who was pretty bad. They had, who else did they have?
Mason?
They had Mason Rudolph. They had Landry Jones. They've had Justin Fields. I mean, he's been 57% winning with these backup players, pretty much, these backup quarterbacks. So that goes a long way too in terms of what he's done. He's not a bad coach, but at the end of the day, like, you need to win playoff games in order to keep your job and keep the fans happy, and he has not done that. So that's kind of like the rub right there. But yeah, it's just a good situation for the quarterback room, and then overall the way Russell Wilson is, like, as a veteran, and what he did before he was he played in a Super Bowl, 2 Super Bowls, he won 1. And if he can bring that to us, and he's going to get more money after the season if he does well. He's going to get a long-term deal for sure. He can still play. I don't know. I don't remember how old he is, but he can still play football. He's not old by any means. I think he's like 35. So, yeah, I mean, overall, man, at the end of the day, like, it was just a good game. It's a good performance. And all of us as Steelers fans, like Jersey Jerry podcast, the host, I can't remember his name, but he said that he was wrong about Russell Wilson, because Jersey Jerry said, you're going to be all wrong about Russell Wilson. He's going to do good. And yeah, he got his own sandwich, which is awesome.
Yes, he did.
The Danger Russ sandwich. Is that Danger Russ?
Yes,
sandwich?
Danger Russ. Yes.
Let me see. I'll pull it up. But yeah, man, I mean, he's fitting right in. I mean, he's definitely a Steeler. That's for sure. He's definitely a Steeler. As I said, like, the way his character is, he's a religious guy. He does a lot of work in the community. Yeah, he's a Steeler for sure. I mean, he has a good demeanor. He's just a good character guy, and it correlates to the field, fortunately for us. So yeah, it's just overall, man, it's just good to see. I mean, he's just a good fit, in my opinion. And we saw that in the first game, and I do think that we're going to see that continuing for the rest of the season. Doesn't mean we're going to win a Super Bowl this year or anything, but yeah, that's his sandwich right there, and he totally deserves that. $1 of it goes to the Children's Hospital. And I would like to know what's on that, because Permani's food, I don't know if you've ever had Permani's food, because State College.
I have. I've been to Permani Brothers in Pittsburgh. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Love it to death.
Permani's in State College is my favorite bar to go to. That's my favorite bar by far. And it's pretty much a Pittsburgh bar. I don't think there's any Eagles stuff in there, which is fantastic. And the painting on the wall is all steel. It's like Franco's on there, and all kinds of guys. But yeah, by far it's my favorite bar. But the food there, man, is good. Like, the sandwiches are good, the pizza's good. I mean, so I would like to go. We should go get that, Jared. We should go get one.
Yes, absolutely.
But we'd have to go like during normal hours, because weekends it's insane there. Like, it's a madhouse. But and they have a second level now, which I haven't been there since they put that in.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, and it was also, and there's a couple bars like that for me, but it was also one of those bars where I never waited in line. I just knew people at the front, and they just let me in, and that's all, because that line is always extremely long. But yeah, he's pretty much been welcomed in officially if he has his own sandwich at Permani's. I mean, every draft player, first round pick at least, they go to Permani's when they get to Pittsburgh. TJ Watt did it. So if you have your own sandwich, then yeah, I think Ben has one. TJ will definitely have one if he already doesn't. They should just make all their sandwiches after former players, man. They should, because they have so many great players. The Steelers do, but yeah, man. Like I said, you heard my rant last week, and for me personally, like as someone who was in that mindset, and this is just me and my opinion of the Steelers. There's a lot of more important stuff going on in the world right now other than my opinion on the Steelers. But yeah, it's just it gave me a lot of hope, and I was very happy. And I mean, it just gave me it reinforced my mindset of supporting my team and just getting me out of that funk that I was in, for sure, with the Steelers, because it's been a tough road. And I mean, since Ben left, it hasn't been the same.
Nope.
So yeah, it was a great night. It was a great night.
Well, that's what we all had kind of been spoiled with Ben Roethlisberger and company. I mean,
Absolutely.
You looked at when he first came into the league,
None of
we
us
had
took that for granted. None of us took that for granted.
No, not absolutely. No, dude, I was there for his final home game at, I think, Heinz Field at the time. I don't think it was Acrisure Stadium yet, but at that time, yeah. I mean, the final. At that point. Okay, it was, dude. There was not dry eye in the house in terms of. I thought it was just the greatest thing. It was like going to see Top Gun or some macho thing where it's like you would never think that grown men would be crying. Mm-hmm. And it's like, dude, that was like the thing I'll always remember, looking around my immediate seating area and just seeing like just nothing but the wash on the cheeks of every grown man in there, just knowing that this was a generation that will be defined like by that guy. And what he had basically accomplished. He became the voice for the people of Pittsburgh. He was basically what we all always associate with Pittsburgh. Like, for not to steer off it, but with the Pirates right now in Pittsburgh, they have their closer, David Bednar. Do you know anything about him at all?
Yeah. Like, I follow the Pirates. I'm a Pirates fan.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not. I'm just saying,
like, if you look at like. Right. So, like, David Bednar is like a stocky, like, he doesn't look like you're a typical baseball player. He looks something on the lines of a linebacker. And everyone always says, like, that guy, when you see how they look, like, that's how they look in Pittsburgh. That's what we represent. We're not some, slim looking, model dude, like, that likes to show off the tan line. No, we're burly. We like to look a little, we have a little bit of a girth to it. And it's like that's what it is. Like, all these big stocky guys, like, they just always somehow represent Pittsburgh. And Ben, there was nothing stockier than that guy. Like, he was just a big old bear, with that beard. Like, it was a great overall look. It was like, that was the symbol for such a long time. And, again, when he left, it was definitely like, how can you even think of filling the shoes of that dude? And I remember when I saw Kenny Pickett for the first time, and I saw when we had drafted him, I just thought to myself, this guy does not look like a Pittsburgher. Like, he didn't. He did not have that kind of look. Like, he could fill out the uniform, but he could fill out the jersey, but it was just like, it never had that fit. And I'm not saying, like, listen, I'm not talking 5'10" Russell Wilson looks like a stocky guy by any means, but there is something to be said about how he conducts himself, that it's like, yes, I feel like he has that kind of either swag or that type of presence about him that can carry on anywhere he goes. I'm not saying we can't say that he looks like the guys you look at when you think of Pittsburgh, but he definitely carries so much of his persona, like everything. His talent is always going to be there. Like, he carried it with him, thank goodness. When he came from the Broncos, Denver is a tough place to really be successful at. I mean, I give Peyton Manning a lot of crap because I think he's corny as heck. Between Colts and Denver, it's like he was able to be successful in both. I mean, that is not an easy thing to do. And his circumstances in Denver were kind of unfair in the sense like they were thrown Nathaniel Hackett, and everybody knows that was a bust. And that was like, what are you supposed to do with that? I mean, you are a great talented dude, but man, he took some knots and put a bunch of random things together on that field. It's like not even Russell Wilson can untie that. So he was definitely lucky enough to get out of the situation and come over to black and gold into that beautiful city with all those bridges. And he just was able to say, I know what I'm capable of. And I know that this city and this team is basically success. They are winners. Mike Tomlin is the guy it's like he's a winner, on the regular season. He's a winner. He will get you at least to a playoff. He'll try everything to get you there. I mean, and the coaching staff, they stepped it up. I mean, between Terrell Austin, that's the defensive coach, and of course, Arthur Smith is the offense. I mean, those two losses, it's going to be a sting every time you bring it up because it's like, the Colts shouldn't have looked that elite, or the Cowboys should not have hung around like we let them. But again, you cannot be 17-0 in a season. It's just not attainable. So I knew we were going to lose some games, but it's, again, all about competition. And we have a game this week where it's like we have no reason to feel like we're going to have problems. And as long as we know that Russ can do what he did just the week ago, I feel like everything is going to be just fine for the Steelers going forward, going into the bye, getting some guys healthy for the Commanders. I'm not saying we look past the Giants to the Commanders, but dude, if Jaden Daniels plays in that game, bud, we're going to have a lot to talk about on that one because that's going to be a fun game to talk about. I mean, again, Daniel Jones, the poor guy, he has his situation in Giants and everything about them. I mean, that Neighbors kid, he is a phenomenal wide receiver. Again, they have a couple names on the defense. The Giants, if you give them another 2 or 3 seasons, they could probably be a team that could challenge the NFC East soon. But as of right now, this shouldn't be not a cakewalk, but it certainly should be a cupcake stroll. Like, I don't know if there's another. They definitely should be taking advantage of what is ahead of them this week, which is a very banged up team. Doesn't have a lot to show for it. So we should very well take care of business. And I'm going to put a score on this and say it's going to be like 31-10 at the best. Like, I mean, I'm being generous and probably giving them 10. That would be my score.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about a score. I don't know about. I wouldn't. Yeah. Score wise, I'm not sure, man. That's a good question. It's something I haven't even really thought about, but yeah, I would say that, yeah, that's probably a pretty good prediction. I mean, at this point, they've scored some points, but yeah, I'd say that's probably about where I'm at too. But yeah, I mean, this is a bad team they're going to play, and I don't even know if Daniel Jones is going to start. He was benched, like you mentioned, but yeah, they're just a horrible team, and it's Monday night, and this is why we got up most of these primetime games, I believe, is because Russell Wilson's going to be our quarterback. So, but yeah, Jared, do you have any other predictions for the game? Anything you're looking out for?
They kept talking about us not getting a wide receiver 2. Like, the Cooper Kupp thing isn't happening because now the Rams beat the Vikings. And again, was that a shocker? A little bit, but the Vikings, they went on a really good run for the start of the season, and then they lost to the Lions. Really, really tough game. That was an amazing game to see. And then they lost to the Rams, but it was in Los Angeles. Any road test will put you kind of in that attitude of like, you could lose on the road. Any team can be, beaten on the road. So I feel like the Vikings, like that was a pretty tough one for a team like the Rams to like figure it out. And because they got Puka and Cooper Kupp back, it's like, yeah, they look like a complete team again. I thought they were a 10-7 team, the Rams myself. So it's like, if they were healthy, they would probably be a much, much better team. And they showed that because they beat the Vikings pretty well. I mean, 30-20, I think was the final. So that's not happening with Cooper Kupp. And again, Tua's coming back for Miami, and they could go on a run for all we know. Because I was like, ooh, maybe like if we can get maybe like Waddle or something like that to compensate for Pickens, like that would be fun. I mean, could you imagine? Like, I think I heard a lot of ideas for the offseason that it's like maybe Justin Fields will go somewhere. We can like maybe trade him at the trade deadline for another wide receiver too. But the more I see it, dude, I think that we are going to be sticking with Van Jefferson and Scotty Miller and Calvin Austin. I mean, I know they are nowhere near like the Cooper Kupps or Devontae Adams is in this like, NFL. So, I mean, it's definitely something that could have been nice to solidify their insertion to the playoffs. But it's just like right now, Van Jefferson looked pretty solid. I liked his touchdown pass that he got from Russell. It was a fantastic route. Again, we don't know what this team can really be until we see at least 2 or 3 games of Russell Wilson's schemes and Arthur Smith's play calling. I mean, we definitely got a good taste of it. I mean, dang, I want more of it. I mean, give me that recipe off the menu every time I come to the Steelers restaurant. That's what it is. Like, they are saying Russ is always cooking. I very much like all of the recipes I have so far tasted. So as long as you keep that in that menu, I mean, this will be an interesting second half for the Steelers for sure. Because, again, a guy like Russell Wilson, with his veteran leadership and his experience, you're talking about the AFC North now in that area of Lamar Jackson, who, yes, I will openly say I've been critical of this dude since he has arrived in the NFL. He is right now, to me, the MVP favorite. He is absolutely doing amazing things with his arms that I never thought he was able to do. So you have Lamar Jackson in the Ravens. You have, of course, Joe Burrow, who is like a silent assassin for the Cincinnati Bengals. Like, his ability to play quarterback is kind of filthy, where it's like when he turns it on, you ain't stopping him. I'm not saying he's Tom Brady-esque, but it's like he definitely likes to be the best quarterback in the game. And so now you have Russell Wilson. This is right now the most interesting second half coming up. Like, again, 2 games, all the games against the AFC North still. It's definitely going to set up some interesting storylines, and I am just all for what this team is going to be able to achieve once everything is healthy again with certain players. Like, again, when we get Zach Frazier back for the offensive line, I know we're missing a key defensive player. I know he'll be back soon. I'm blanking right now who it would be, but like there's all these names that's like, okay, we're almost there. We're going to get Patterson healthy again too. It's like, so then you have 4 options for runners. I mean, between Fields and Patterson and Warren and Harris. I mean, it's definitely wonderful to see that anything can happen with what's about to come down in the next couple of weeks, a little bit of the months, but I'm definitely intrigued to know what more the schemes are going to be.
Yeah, Jared. I can only talk about this so much because I'm still a way more of a college football guy. But I pretty much said all I can say, man. I'm happy with it going forward, and we'll see how it plays out. But what you said is true. I mean, it's going to be interesting going forward to see how it plays out, how it fits with Arthur Smith and Bruss and everybody combined. So, that's why I have you on here, man. You're really passionate about it. And I'm passionate about my team too, man, but I'm just more of a college football guy at this point in my life. I don't know why I've gravitated to that. I was always college football, but
Well, dude, I mean, the NFL is filled with college guys, so I mean that makes complete sense to me. That like you can set it up, and I'll take care of the rest. Going forward. I mean, listen, how many Penn State guys? I mean, Pat Freiermuth, Jesse James. Who did we just have? I'm so mad at myself. We had a wide receiver from Penn State. What was his name?
From Penn State?
Yes, we had him just last year. I'm so mad that I'm blanking on his name. Oh, he was with the Rams. He was with. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we had Allen Robinson on the team for a little while. I mean, it's nice. I mean, we definitely have had our fair share of history of Penn State players just coming on the West Side and just going and playing for that great team and that great history. I mean, everything started really with Franco Harris and company. I mean, we all know that was like the most important player of that generation. And it just, everything followed suit. I mean, me and Joe Green came from that, and Terry came from that, and then eventually Lynn Swan and Stallworth. I mean, it was like we created something based off of these kinds of plays. And the Immaculate Reception, everyone knows about it. It's still being talked about over 50 years later. It's just awesome to know how much history is put into this particular brand. And you, again, with us, like being from, this area and growing up with Penn State, it's a really cool thing to see how much history is with all of us. I mean, we are definitely, I commend you guys for what you know on your side. Like Penn State, they are such an amazing historic team. I mean, for the last 50, 60 years plus, I mean, you have this whole season that we're watching right now. It's a great season to see. I mean, I'm so happy to see it.
Yeah, our football team, Sharon, they've had 6 head coaches total in like 60 years.
Yeah. I mean, but right now you think about this season, like we're right now about to come in tonight against Wisconsin. I mean, I'm all for it, dude. I mean, it's a trap game. It is. Just do not sleep on this team. Like these next 2 weeks, I'm going to say it with this real quick. Wisconsin and Ohio State, their coaching staffs and their teams, they play complete games. What we did against USC, you cannot do against Wisconsin or Ohio State. You got to come out and answer everything they're going to give you. Because if they have a 20-6 lead, they ain't going to let go of that. They're Big Ten, dude. They know better. Like these Pac-12 teams coming into the Big Ten, they are just getting to understand that you can't do that. Like Oregon right now is absolutely a Big Ten team in disguise. Like they really are. Mm-hmm. They are insanely tough. So
they're beating up on Illinois right now.
It's embarrassing. I mean, I'm watching it right now. It's crazy. So you're certainly, but again, when I come to the Pittsburgh side of it all, like I can say that I started in the early 2000s, and when I watched Big Ben come in, I was like, all right, I know that I'm really going to enjoy watching a player like him, but little did we know that this dude would have like the best 5-year stretch of a young quarterback ever. And we are witnessing like the birth of a new defensive dynasty. Like the 2000s, like the late 2000s, early 2010s, dude. I mean, it was like, we have our generation's version of the Steel Curtain. Like we did.
So good. We were so good. We beat so many good teams, man. That's what that stretch, man, was unbelievable. And Big Ben, the best rookie year of all time in the NFL of any player. He was. He didn't lose a game until the AFC title game, and he came in like the second game. He came in the second game. Didn't lose until they made the AFC title game. That's unbelievable. For a rookie. That is absolutely insane. And then that stretch from like you said, late 2000s, early 2010s. I mean, those teams that we had and the teams they beat, Big Ben would have like a broken ankle, a broken nose, and he'd be playing at Baltimore on Sunday Night Football, and we would win. I mean, that's just unbelievable. The way not
to foreshadow anything, but I'm calling it right now at this very moment. That game against Baltimore, when it comes, again, we're weeks away, but I'm saying that game could very well be the game of the year for the NFL. If everything goes as well as it should, because again, the Steelers are doing everything right now, and the Baltimore Ravens have what they've got. Dude, I have no clue who I will go with, because again, we have so many strengths. They have so many strengths. It's like, and again, kickers, like
They're very good.
Tucker, I mean, between Tucker and Boswell, and then it's like you look at all the names on the defenses, like I can name their defense, I can name our defense. Like it's certainly a very good thing to be a part of, especially when everything works. So, dude, this again, get ready for the second half because it's coming.
Yeah, right now my Super Bowl prediction would be the Ravens and the Lions. And I had some hope for the Bills. I don't know if they can make the Super Bowl, but I just don't think, man, like the Chiefs, unless there's some shady stuff going on, which is possible. It's the NFL. There's so much money involved. But
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to go through a three-peat, man. Like, no. They're the Chiefs, as always, man, the Chiefs and the Chiefs fans will, totally hate me saying this if they're listening, but they're not that good. They weren't that good last year. Patrick Mahomes, man, he's a freak. He's an incredible athlete. You have him all the credit in the world. He's very similar to Lamar Jackson in the way he plays. He can do anything. Lamar Jackson I hope he's a Hall of Famer, man, because he's such a good athlete. He is unbelievable. How good of an athlete he is unbelievable. He just plays quarterback,
Right.
So,
well, dude, I mean, we're talking about an NFL right now that when you think of the AFC, the Chiefs are the standard because they have been there for the last 4 or 5 years straight. So ever since Patrick Mahomes has been in the league, that team has been in the conversation. And Travis Kelce, I mean, that's his guy. I mean, that's the tangent. Like, you look at how everything's been successful. Andy Reid, one of the greatest coaches in the NFL of this century, maybe of all time, but certainly in this century, he has definitely put his name as one of the best coaches. There with Belichick, there with Tomlin. I mean, again, you look at all these guys. I mean, again, the team is like the Bills. Like, if we're staying in the AFC, I mean, it's like the Chiefs, the Ravens, maybe the Bills, and then I'll say us, and then the Texans. Like, you're looking at a lot of teams right now. I mean, Texans, they had that one hiccup. I think they're still 5-1 or 6-1, something like that. Like, they're an interesting team for sure. I mean, if guys like Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell, I mean, Joe Mixon, I very much like what he does as a running back. They have such good strengths. There's a lot of good teams in the AFC right now. I mean, you're talking about beating up on each other in each division. You're looking at probably a 9 or 10 win team could make it into the playoffs for the AFC. So if that's the case, dude, we are a playoff team for sure, because if it only takes 9 or 10 wins to get into the playoffs, the NFC is very much different. Like the whole North could very well be the representatives in the NFC wild card, because the Bears are fantastic with Caleb Williams. I don't know how much you kept up with it, dude, but his first game was a bad game. It was a win, but it was very ugly. It was one of the ugliest openers I've ever seen for a rookie quarterback ever. Dude had like maybe 80 yards thrown the whole game. Like, geez, that was a bad game. But ever since, they've been like, I think they're 4-2 or 5-2 right now. They play the Commanders this weekend. So it's like anything can happen right now. So they win that game. They're 5-2, and everyone in the NFC North, the Vikings, the Packers are so interesting. They truly are. I like what Jordan Love does. I think they've got great weapons with them. Matt LaFleur, their coach, like he's a great coach. And naturally the Lions. Dude, they're my representatives to win the Super Bowl this year. I picked the Lions to win the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah.
Because I like what Dan Campbell does. He is just such a dude and a good, honest coach. Like, I just like how he conducts himself at the podium. The man goes into like a crying fest every other week because he loves this game so much. He's so passionate about how he treats his teammates and everything. Like, it's such a great thing to see. And everyone kept writing Jared Goff off. Like, ever since he was with the Rams, they're like, this pipsqueak, can never do anything. And all of a sudden, he's turning into Drew Brees. The dude has like 4,000 or 5,000 yards a season. He is a fantastic slinger. And a guy like St. Brown.
He's got a great arm.
Yeah. Like, so, I mean, there's so many names for the Lions. Like, they're everything that works for them. It's a great setup. Dude, you think 4 or 5 years ago, the Lions, like, they were always the joke of the NFL. Now they're an elite team. Now they're one of the teams that are respected. Like, it's so great to see shifts like this in the NFL for sure. So, dude, we're talking about many, many great situations. It's a good time in the NFL. Like, a lot of teams that you never really thought of between the Texans, potentially the Lions. I mean, it's like they're getting respect finally. Like it's definitely a good time, and we're now a part of it. Like we can say that if this game, like last week, is an implication of anything going forward, dude, we are a part of this party. So
yeah, we have a chance if we can beat the AFC North, then we got a chance. But yeah, I like to see the Lions turn it around because they were always the bad team growing up. The Browns too, but the what did I say? The Lions were always the bad team growing up, always. And Dan Campbell was on that team that was 0-16. So it's really good to see them turn around. But Jared, I need to jump off, man, because I need to listen to Trump talk here. And I will see you guys probably for post game tonight with freaking Caves the Realist, man, Brett. He's at the rally right now, but I need to get off so I can watch him, and then maybe we'll be on for post game tonight. But Jared, I'll stay in touch, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys. Later.
See ya. Hopefully we win Monday. Let's go.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. I'll see you later.
Yes, bud. Have a great night, bud.
Thanks for coming on.
Oh, absolutely, dude. That was great.
Yep. See ya.
We can't have that running.